It is 9 o'clock and it is time to go Facebook Live. Welcome to Nightcaps with Nate. Tonight I have a Samuel Adams Cold Snap. Love that beer. It's a seasonal beer. I recommend you try it. So grab your drink and let's get ready to go. Tonight we have a great show. Guest hosting tonight will be a guy that looks a lot like me. His name is Brandon. And why does he look like me? Because he is my twin brother. Yes, he is calling in tonight to help guest host from Louisville, Kentucky area, where he got out of the Army at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Tonight, we're going to be discussing all types of different topics, including Trump extending his social distancing guidelines, special favors being asked by certain people who don't really like Trump, and I'm not sure Trump is going to give in, and so much more. So, grab your beer or your favorite cocktail, and let's get started. Brandon? All right, we got Brandon on the line. Brandon, how you doing today?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Good, good. I see you got all the little redneck stuff hanging up behind you.
That's Kentucky.
Like spice it up with a little Corona hat.
That's right.
I think you're
in honor of coronavirus.
There you go. All right, man. So, why don't you tell him, how the hell did you end up in Kentucky?
So, I was stationed here, and was my last duty station, Fort Knox. And when I got out, I ended up in Michigan, and it was 2014, and it turned out being the coldest year we had ever seen in northern Michigan. I literally woke up the next morning that I got there, and it was negative 35 actual temperature. And I remember walking out there and thinking, my God, the Army would have put me anywhere in the United States, and I chose Michigan. And so I met me a Kentucky girl, married her, and back down here in much warmer Kentucky.
There you go. There you go. Sounds like your phone just dinged. So if you want to throw that on silent real quick, that'd be good. All right, man. So let's get into it. This is, I'm sure you've seen it. You're my brother. You guys are probably all of like 5 of the 5 people who actually watch this thing. I do it for fun. But I want to show our very first headline of the day. Today we're going to talk about Trump has extended his social distancing guidelines until April 30. Says the coronavirus peak is likely to hit in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Now, if you remember, President Trump was talking about how he was going to, we'd be ready by April. And I think it was a lofty goal. I think because we're dealing with an economy that's basically at a standstill right now, that it was a smart, lofty goal. Now, the Democrats beat the hell out of him for this. And the media, of course, because that's pretty much their talking arm or their communications arm for the Democrat Party is the media. And they just beat the hell out of him because he was optimistic, saying, hey, I'd like to reopen the country. Smart, because some economists are saying that we're going to hit 30% unemployment. We haven't seen those numbers since the Great Depression. You could
yeah, so I think, I was waiting for your headline, but, I really don't think that we are going to understand the economic impact of this until this is over, because I told my kids today, imagine we're in a super slow-mo video right now, and that pebble just hit the water. And all you're seeing right now is the initial splash, and this is the first time we've ever forced shut down this amount of our economy, and over what, really? I mean, this coronavirus.
We have to shut down the economy because, and it isn't because we're scared of deaths. Yes, you're right. I've heard it all that flu is worse because of the sheer number of infections of flu. But this virus is more catchier than the flu, and it is more deadlier, but we're not really worried about the deaths. We're worried about the amount of patients that have to go into ICU. If 20% of our influenza cases had to go into ICU, we'd be going through the exact same thing right now. So what have we learned from this? I was saying it last night on the show with Tyler that we got to bring our manufacturing back home. We have to bring our drug and our ventilators and all that. We need to stockpile better for the next epidemic, because had we had enough ventilators, we probably could keep going right now. Second thing is we need people to quit standing in the way of progress. I hate how I love the FDA. The FDA does do its part and keeps us safe, but sometimes they are our worst enemy. I mean, think about it. They want to do an FDA study for something that has already proven anecdotally to work. We're in an emergency right now, man. Bring out the hydroxychloroquine and the azithromycin and all the other cocktails that these doctors are trying. It's just absolutely silly. The next thing I want to show the viewers, we are now to 30 states that have issued stay-at-home orders, encouraging isolation measures to prevent the spread of coronavirus. And those 30 states don't include all the metro areas in other states, such as Nevada. Nevada does not have a whole state lockdown, and they shouldn't because most of it's desert. But, Las Vegas or Reno is locked down. Basically, at this point, 75% of our country's population is currently under lockdown. This just got to be having a horrible effect on our economy. Now, do you still think that this is overblown?
I think it's way overblown. Our reaction to it's overblown. Right now we have, last time I checked, 2,951 deaths from this coronavirus. 70 days into an average flu season, we would have 17,000 deaths. This is a media-driven panic that Trump, I think, tried getting ahead of, but he was crucified by the Democrats, and of course, they're cheerleaders. He's got a free bullhorn with all the media, and they crucified him. So then all of a sudden, he had to jump on their little bandwagon and say, okay, we need to do something. And then he said, hey, you know what? Okay, we did all the lockdowns. We're doing what we can. We can open this economy up by Easter. And they crucified him. So now he's saying April 30th, But if we have this kind of overreaction over just general illnesses, I mean, we better shut it down for HIV, which has more daily deaths. We better shut this down for heart disease. We better shut everything down for just car accidents.
Unlike HIV, where you have to pretty much transfer blood, unlike, car accidents, I understand we're not going to avoid the car. Unlike, lung cancer and heart disease and all that, this is transmitted without you even knowing about it. And it stays dormant for a while. I will say, and I'm kind of more the middle route. I mean, if you know me and my brother, by the way, if you ever knew us personally, he is a lot more more conservative than I am. I believe that had we not flattened the curve by taking some of these drastic measures, that we would be way past the numbers 70 days in from, as he referenced the flu virus and stuff like that. So bottom line, I think that the flattening the curve has hurt us, but it's also helped us. Now, how much farther can we go? We need to get a vaccine. We also need herd immunity, whether that's through the vaccine or letting some of the younger population out to go to work and quarantine the older people and the vulnerable people. If that's what it takes, we need to get about 60 or 70% of us past this virus, and then we'll have what's called herd immunity, and basically the virus dies out. And we'll do that in another segment, another show about the herd immunity.
Let me just add one thing real quick, if I could. All right.
Got about
I really think, okay, I think we've had this a lot longer than what we think. I had a buddy of mine, also came down with this weird pneumonia. Okay?
Oh, Dr. Kirk, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Not just anecdotal evidence, okay? He got this weird pneumonia. The doctors didn't know what it was. So they treated him like it was the flu, finally got over it. He's a buddy of mine that I hang out with all the time. Suddenly, I never get sick, once every 20 years. And you know what? All of a sudden, I got this weird fever and this dry cough. Nobody knew what it was. 2 other people in my household got the same thing, went and got flu tests because it's flu season. They came back negative for flu. They perplexed the doctors, and they're like, we'll just treat it as if it's the flu. And we all got better. And so I really think that we've really had this thing longer anyways, and we probably are closer to that herd immunity that you're talking about than what the experts right now think.
And there are scientific studies going on right now in Colorado. There's a Biogen company who is actually going out and sampling people to see if they have antibodies, to see if that is actually the case. And believe me, I'm open to any good news. Now, you said you never get sick, but I'm not going to tell everybody about that rash you had last year, but we'll just move on.
Right. That was not caught by breathing on people.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to talk to your wife. All right. Moving on to the next subject, we do have a glimmer of good hope, good news. Okay, now, my graduate degree is in analytics, and I will tell you that we look at different types of charts. One is a log normal and all that, but this is a very simple chart that you see here, and Brandon can't see it, unfortunately, but the viewers at home, you can see it that the cases are starting to level off. And we actually had a day yesterday where the deaths have actually fallen. Looks like today it's going to go up a little bit, but what's going to happen is this thing called Farr's Law. Farr's Law is when you see that this upper turn here on the U shape, the bell curve as they call it. We're getting to the top there where it's going to start leveling out. And Farr's law says that the amount of time it took for us to get there will be about the amount of time that it takes to get back on the downswing. We saw this in China. We're seeing it in Italy right now. They keep spiking up and down, but if you look at the chart in its totality, you will see that the curve is, they're actually at the height of their epidemic, and they're going to start seeing their a sharp downturn, because Farr's law says that as rapidly as it comes up is as rapidly as it will also go down. Good news about that too is this is coinciding with us entering warmer and more humid months coming up. It was a whopping 63 degrees today. My father-in-law was out in my driveway embarrassing all my little girls because he's out there shirtless sitting around. He's from Georgia, kind of like Brandon. Brandon's probably used to that because he's from Kentucky. And the humidity and heat, that's going to kill this thing. And that gives us a little reprieve to where we can actually get a vaccination in development so that next year we can vaccinate everybody. Of course, then we'll have all the people on the fringe right and left who are anti-vaxxers be like, this was just a big thing to insert microchips into all of our body. And go ahead.
I'm not in the anti-vax crowd.
You're not?
I'm not. Nope.
Oh, okay. All right. My brother's progressing. This is good. Very good. Very good. I think that if we can get this reprieve, we can get the economy going. It's unlike last time where the recession was structural. It was because both Democrats and the worst Republican president we ever had, Bush, they weren't watching the type of lending that was going on, or they thought that we were recession proof. Man, we learned a hard lesson there, and that hurt us. This right here was brought on by China. I think we should, A, send the bill to China, and B, I think it'll bounce back a lot quicker. What do you think?
Well, I think it will bounce back a little quicker because right now it's kind of like a closed off water hose. Mm-hmm. And so it's all backing up right now. So when this thing does open up, suddenly it's gonna shoot, It's gonna be kind of like edging.
Did you say
it's gonna shoot? And then
hey, this is nightcaps. This isn't the strip club.
I see the look on your face. But anyways, I really it's nightcap. We're in a bar. So anyways, but I really do think there's a lot of pent up. That's what Trump said. There's a lot of pent up action waiting to happen. But I think that if this happened only 2 or 3 weeks, it would be like the whole nation went on holiday. But I think if this thing lasts into the months, it's going to close down enough businesses that, there's a lot of businesses that can't go out of business for 2 or 3 weeks or even 4 or 5 weeks and survive. I remember when I started a roofing company years and years ago before the Army. And if I was off for 4 weeks, that was it. Business closed. I had to go find a job.
I think you're cutting out there, buddy. Yep, looks like we may have lost him. So, are you back? That's that Kentucky internet. I don't think he realized he's even gone yet. All right, so we're going to move on while Brandon tries to find his footing back to get. Oh, there he is. You there?
So, I don't know how much you heard, but whatever, man. It's just drunk talk.
It sounded good. You kind of cut out, cut in, but you're all right. Everybody knows this is Facebook Live, man. That's the beauty of it. We are not rehearsing this. We are not recording this. This baby is live, so we just deal as we go. And if you saw how Brandon and I grew up, man, we knew how to adapt and overcome. All right, moving on. Certain somebody I love. If you're a Christian, you might call it reap and sow. If you're like a Buddhist or somebody, you might call it karma. Atheists just say, hey, what goes around comes around. I believe in it. And certain people, man, they're haters until they need something. And this next headline, Trump says U.S. will not pay for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's security. No, he won't. He says in a tweet, I am a great friend and admirer of the Queen and the United Kingdom. It was reported that Harry and Meghan, who left the kingdom, would reside permanently in Canada. Now they left Canada for the U.S. However, the U.S. will not pay for their security protection. They must pay! ! Now, I'm not a big fan of, first of all, I love Trump, his policies. I'm not a big fan of his tweets. But that's a damn good tweet right there. Why did he do that? Well, I'm sure it's not political in any way. But I will tell you that Meghan Markle's said back in the day, and by the way, my celebrity crush, I know that sounds girly, man, it's Meghan Markle. I already told my wife, if for somehow, some way, that she wants to go out with me on a date, hey, I get a free hall pass that night. But, and we know that she likes gingers now too. So, anyways, Meghan Markle's real dream is to move to Los Angeles, but only after Donald Trump's presidency ends, says Pals. That was back in 2020. Now, what happened to this little hypocrite? Well, this little hypocrite, she convinces this poor guy to leave the royal family. I mean, she's probably not like a home wrecker, like she's cheating and all that, but like a home wrecker of the palace, right? The palace wrecker. And she's now convinced him, hey, let's move to Canada. And they're like, oh, man, fine, okay, let's go with Canada. At least Canada's still technically part of the British Empire, right? Well, they start schmoozing and rubbing elbows. They realize, man, we're not going to get all this free money from being royals anymore. And he starts pimping his wife off to Hollywood executives, and now she's going to go and do some voice work. Well, all of a sudden, now they want to move to Los Angeles. Well, unlike Canada, the United States just aren't going to pay the $1 million bill per year for them to live in the United States for their security. Do you feel bad for her, Brandon? Wait, first of all, do you think she's hot?
I do not.
You don't think she's hot?
I do. Oh. But not Mila Kunis hot. But that's America first. That's what that's what he ran on that populist message. We're not paying for your security. We're not paying for other nations to be secure. America first. They're already getting into the greatest country on earth. They might as well just pay for their own security anyways. Yeah, and really most Americans don't even really know who they are. What's that?
Yeah, they're not getting blocked at the border. Here's what I want to know.
Right.
How does he just get in? I mean, anybody else would need to go get a K visa or whatever. You know that big guy on 90 Day Fiance, whatever his name is. You know, they had to go through hell to get their stuff, right? And she gets to bring her husband right back in, just right in. I mean, God, he is a royal head of state, or co-head of state, I guess, but that doesn't mean you get to live here, you know? Now, here's my question, too. Does he get diplomatic immunity while he's here? I mean, you're not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I don't really expect you to answer that, but I wonder if he gets diplomatic immunity.
I don't know if he does because he's not really reporting anywhere near the UN or one of the embassies. I don't know. I'm not an attorney like you just said, but I couldn't imagine they're doing diplomatic work. That's right. But I don't think they're, that whatever he says is the official word of the UK. So probably no diplomatic immunity.
No, yeah. He's got kicked out. I mean, he's been graciously let out of the royal family, they said, but we'll see how long that lasts. You know, there's a lot of guys that, like, you know what I mean, man. We've been in the Army. They married the big fat girl from home because they went to the Army, right? And then they couldn't lose her, right? And all of a sudden, about 5 years into the Army career, like, man, what have I done? You know, I brought her with me. Why? You know what I'm saying? I'm wondering if that's going to be the case with Meghan. And I hope not. You know, I hope they work it out. I hope they have I'm a pro-marriage kind of guy, but, you know, he's giving up a lot. He's giving up a lot to
I don't know.
That's a lot. You know,
she's got more power over him than most people.
Hey, pretty soon she's not going to look so good, okay? I'm just saying. She's not going to look that great. And I'm hoping that he didn't just marry her because she's pretty. And she is. She's beautiful. But I think it was Drew and Mike in Detroit when I was younger. I used to listen to them. So eventually the looks wear off. All the free stuff starts going to the wayside, you know? Next thing.
Yeah, they become a member of SAG.
Yes. Census estimates show Baltimore's population continues to plummet. New annual estimates from the U.S. Census Bureau show that Baltimore is continuing to shed inhabitants, bringing the overall population of Maryland's biggest city down to what it was over 100 years ago. Kind of reminds me of where I grew up there, Brandon, Flint, Michigan, Detroit, and it's not just Baltimore. Next headline that poor Brandon can't see. Census report, New York is losing New Yorkers. Illinois saw the nation's worst population loss during the decade. The Hill headline, Blue State Exodus gains momentum. And it isn't, a lot of people will say, Brandon, that, you know, it's because of crime and all that. It's not just crime. It's nanny state government. Mike Bloomberg, remember he instituted like a large soda ban, not just a tax, a large soda ban. You got people who just to build a house in California. They said a builder told me that by the time they pound that first nail, they've already paid about $100,000 in fees, depending on where you live, environmental fees and this fee and that tax. And so everything's just so damn expensive in liberal areas, and the taxes are bad too. That's probably why you live in Kentucky. I actually heard
Yep.
Kentucky had bad taxes though.
No. Kentucky does have like city and local income taxes, but let me tell you about Kentucky. Good old conservative Kentucky. There's not one dirt road. Now we know even in Flint, if you got out into Burton, there was dirt roads. We lived on one for a while. Anywhere you go in Michigan, if it's outside of a big metropolitan area, you got dirt roads. Kentucky has not one dirt road. Our gas today is $1.29 a gallon because our taxes are low. So our insurance is much lower than the liberal states. But back to the blue state exodus, you know what pisses me off? They will come here to Kentucky, or they will go down to Florida or
to
Texas.
Kentucky, dude. Only you went to Kentucky.
The exact same way.
Yeah. Correction.
No, Kentucky's thriving. I love Kentucky.
I know you have a lot of pride. That's why I bust your butt a little bit. And I live on the fringe of West Virginia, really the D.C. metro area. But, I've always been a little more of a kind of a city guy than my brother here. Bottom line is this: you are 100% correct, and that brings me up to my next headline. It says, "Watch out, America! American migration patterns should terrify the GOP. Millennial movers have hastened the growth of left-leaning metros in southern red states such as Texas, Arizona, and Georgia. It could be the biggest political story of the 2020s, and there are signs everywhere. It says." The Lone Star State is awesome. Don't California my Texas. And another one says, don't California my Colorado. But let's leave poor Colorado alone. I'm sorry, California alone. There's a shirt that also says, don't New York my Florida. Now, yes, my brother, he has moved around a lot. And one of his residents was the great state of Florida. What do you think about all those Michiganders and New Yorkers moving down there?
All right, so I've been in two of those states. Colorado, I was stationed at Fort Carson, but Florida, we're talking about Florida. The New Yorkers, they come and they stay and they start voting the same way that made their home state a shithole. Michiganders, they generally just come down for the wintertime and they go back. They don't really vote in Florida. But New Yorkers, they are kind of ruining Florida because it's like a mental disorder. You made your home state an absolute terrible place to live. Then you come to a nice conservative state like the Californians are doing in Colorado and Texas, and then they start voting the exact same way. That's the definition of insanity, isn't it?
Well, but did they move? And I know a lot of them, some of them did move, especially the wealthy, they moved for taxes. Because most middle class, they're not going to pay that much less taxes. At least they don't know it, nor would they really feel it. Whereas a billionaire or a millionaire might pay a lot of taxes to the state government. They're like, see it, I'm out. I mean, President Trump, he is the actual president of the United States, and he's changed his residence to Florida for the exact same reason. What they're mostly moving for, I think, is weather. New York is like Michigan, has some brutal weather. In Minnesota, they might move to Arizona or California. A lot of people are moving there for sunshine. Now, there is no doubt that in states like Michigan, especially under Democratic control, especially under Granholm, and I can guess under Whitmer, that they move for jobs. Now, if you're moving to a conservative southern state for jobs, there's a reason why you're leaving your state to a conservative state for jobs. Low taxes, low regulation, equal jobs. Okay? And so North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia used to be reliably Republican. Colorado used to be reliably Republican. Why are you going to Michigan or California or New York, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina? Isn't that what you left? I don't honestly even believe it's the parents that are actually voting this way. I think a lot of them don't even vote. It's their stupid little entitled white privileged idiot millennial and Gen Z or Gen Y or whatever generation they are. They're the ones that are doing it. They're going to college, they're getting indoctrinated, and their parents didn't raise them right. If the parents would have sat them down and said, hey, this is why we left New York or Michigan, it's because there was no jobs, and guess what? We've learned the error of our ways. then more of these kids, I think, probably would follow suit with their parents, at least once they hit 30. You know, I mean, a lot of kids, they 20s, they're like, I mean, crap. Half your daughter's going to, nah, we're not going to go there. Anyways, so do you really think that New York is leaving because of money, taxes, or is it more because of a lack of jobs or weather?
Well, if you remember, before I joined the Army, I worked for DirecTV and in Florida. And so I met every newcomer as they were coming in because everybody was getting their NFL ticket. And so I talked to every one of them, and every single New Yorker, well, I can't say every single one, but a lot of them, the vast majority would say, man, it's so expensive up there. I sold my apartment for $195,000 and I'm down here, and look at this house I just bought for $65,000. So they were escaping the taxes, the regulation, the money, but they came down and they're starting to turn into the same shithole they left.
Well, good news is that Florida has been pretty reliable. Texas is still pretty reliable. And the next story is why I think Trump is different than any other Republican. Trump is not like a normal Republican. He's not going to sit around and watch America become California. Nope. What does he do? He's the first Republican that actually pitches for black votes and Mexican votes. Headline, Trump pitches black voters. What the hell do you have to lose? That was back in 2016. Everybody said, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Oh, that's so racist to say that Baltimore's a shithole. Well, we just learned that Baltimore is actually a shithole. I mean, I hope it comes back up. Look at the city of Detroit's coming back and stuff. But latest Pew poll, Trump has increased the following since inauguration. From 8% black support after inauguration to 18% overall, 24% among the black males. From 27% Hispanic support to 37%. And for women overall, went from 37% to 44%. If these hold true all the way to the election, which there's a lot of time there, and Trump has been known to step on his own message sometimes, we might actually have a fighting chance, because if we can peel off that much of the black and the Hispanic vote, then we're good to go. But I think blacks are coming to the realization, and I was supposed to have a guest on tonight who was going to talk about being black and Republican. Unfortunately, he had to cancel out, so I had to settle for Brandon. No offense. I was playing Brandon. Last slide here says, unlike normal Republicans, Trump will continue to push for minority votes. And there's a couple headlines there. One's from the Wall Street Journal. Trump's smart play for African Americans. The other is from the New York Post. Trump on pace for a record Hispanic vote. He was told being strict on illegal immigration would doom him among Hispanic voters. But as we can see, the votes just keep coming. Why? Because Hispanics and blacks are not stupid. They're done being played by the damn Democrat Party. They're tired of every 4 years. Have you noticed that the most atheistic party, they find Jesus every 4 years and they enter every black church and just clapping away and hallelujah and stuff? There's a point in time when black men and Hispanic men and women and stuff, they stand up and say, man, what have you done for me? And that's where Trump said, what the hell do you have to lose? What do you think, Brandon? You got about 1 minute. Never mind. He just cut out. Is he back? That's that good old Kentucky internet. Anyways, in wrapping up tonight's segment, we have shown that Republicans, well, not perfect. They are actually not going to just give up on the black and Hispanic vote. People are leaving Democrat areas and coming to conservative areas. Please don't California. And be safe. Be safe. I know we have conspiracy theorists. Like I said, I'm going to have a whole show of them. I think next week I'm bringing on a whole panel of them. I think Brandon just self-invited himself just by his rhetoric tonight, which is cool. I love Brandon. He always has that. He keeps me more to the right. And then I have like these DC people that kind of pull me to the left. Brandon kind of centers me back to the middle there. Oh, you back? He's frozen, so he's not back. So, anyways, thank you, Brandon, for guest hosting tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another Nightcap with Nate. He is back, but he is too late because it is now hitting 30 minutes, and I try to keep these under 30 minutes. Brandon, you want to say goodbye real quick? You got 7 seconds. And no, he doesn't. All
Well,
right.
you can see me. Goodbye.
Bye. See you, man.